So we have the biosphere. So biosphere, it includes all life forms on Earth. So life forms like you and me, diba? Mga kahayupan sa paligid natin, mga pananim, okay? Atong mga gabi-gabi nga gipang transfer na sa balay. Okay? So these are all life forms that are present on Earth are actually it comprises the biosphere. It covers all ecosystems from the soil to the rainforest, from mangroves to coral reefs, and from the plankton-rich ocean surface to the deep sea. So, ecosystem. So, we have the interaction between life or living and non-living things. So, that's your ecosystem. So for biosphere, for the majority of life on Earth, the base of the food chain comprises of photosynthetic organisms, namely the plants, and other photosynthetic organisms that we know. Actually, majority plants. So during photosynthesis, CO2 is sequestered from the atmosphere while oxygen is released as a byproduct. So we know in our biology that in photosynthesis, the ingredients that we need for photosynthesis is CO2, water, and then sunlight, and it will produce CH C6H12O6 or your sugar, and then we have the byproduct which is the oxygen. So biosphere is a CO2 or carbon dioxide sink and therefore an important part of the carbon cycle. So since especially us human beings, our byproduct is CO2 which is actually used by the plants, and then 'di ba cycle lang siya. So the plants use the CO2, produces the oxygen as byproduct, and then we use the byproduct, and then we produce CO2, or we throw CO as a waste also, the CO2. So cycle lang po siya. So question is sunlight necessary for life? Okay, so actually, sunlight is not necessary for life because there are organisms that do not need light to produce, or what's this? What do we call this? They do not need sunlight for them to produce their own food. Okay? Examples of this are the organisms that we have here at the side. So isolated and complex ecosystems thrive in the deep sea floor at depths beyond the reach of sunlight. So at the abyssal part of the ocean, there are organisms like this one here, a worm. Okay, so they undergo chemosynthetic. They're called actually chemosynthetic organisms, and they undergo chemosynthesis. So these organisms use energy from the hydrothermal vents, or they use methane from methane seeps, katong mga nanggawas sa cracks niya, to produce simple sugars. The albedo effect. So actually, the albedo effect, let's touch this one. The albedo effect is has a significant impact on our climate. So the lower the albedo, the more radiation from the sun that gets absorbed by the planet, and the temperatures will rise. Actually, there's a video that you can search on YouTube, the Daisy World model, to understand or really appreciate the concept of albedo effect. Okay, but okay, albedo, if the albedo is higher and the Earth is more reflective, more of the radiation is returned to space and the planet cools. So actually, this is an interplay of hydrosphere, the atmosphere, and the biosphere. So the interconnectedness is seen here. So albedo means actually it affects the temperature. So albedo, the lower the albedo, meaning a certain body, if it has a lower albedo, the more radiation from the sun is absorbed by the planet. So the tendency is the temperature will rise. So pag mataas ang albedo niya, okay, it will absorb more radiation from the sun. So example, colors that are darker will have a lower albedo. So meaning they will absorb uh, light. Okay, that's why if you're going to wear something black, the tendency is di ba, mas muinit ka because of the lower albedo. So your temperature will rise, mas init. So if the albedo is higher, the earth is more reflective. So more radiation is returned to space, and in return the planet will cool down, or it will cool. So an example of this albedo effect is the snow temperature feedback, or the example that I gave you, wearing something that is white and black. If you wear white, diba, it has the tendency to reflect light. That's why you will feel a bit cool, okay, kung magsusuot ka ng white, diba? Sa beach, it is preferable to wear something that is white, okay? Para mas fresh, mas cool siya. Hindi siya masyadong nag-absorb ng heat from the sun. Okay, so that is albedo or albedo effect. Okay, next we have the hydrosphere again. The hydrosphere. So the hydrosphere is actually the dynamic mass of water that is continuously on the move. Okay, all the water part, or the liquid water, comprises the hydrosphere, and much of it is in the form of ocean water. So actually only 3% of the Earth's water is fresh. So 2/3 are in the form of ice, and the remaining 1/3 is present in streams, lakes, and groundwater. And a certain portion of this 1/3 of the 3% is actually the potable water. So if you're going to look at the percentage, it's around 97% salt water, and then 3% for fresh water. And for that 3%, only a portion of that is potable. So if you're going to look at it, okay, water resources or water is really limited. Maraming water sa mundo, but only a percentage, a certain amount is usable by, or it is potable, or meaning naiinom or nagagamit natin. So if you're going to look at this analogy here, okay, the total percentage, if you're going to look at that drop of water here, you're going to remove all the ocean and convert it into a drop, or this blue sphere here. So that is only 70%. Remove the surface water, that is 70%. That is the hydrosphere. And 3% of that, this tiny spherical sphere, blue sphere there is actually the 3%. That is the fresh water in liquid form. Okay? Because a portion of this is also in solid form, which is ice. And a portion of that, I don't know if you can still see it, but it's the tiny dot here. That is the potable water, and that is 0.4%. So if we're going to convert that one into gallons, okay, 321 billion gallons of surface water is used a day, okay, by all the people in the globe. That is according to Groundwater Association. That is This data was available last 2012. So just imagine how much is being used right now. And 77 billion gallons of groundwater per day. Okay? So yan po ang nagagamit natin na tubig. Okay? So can you just imagine how much water is being used? That's why we are being advised and we are advocating water conservation. Diba? Pag hindi ginagamit, you turn off the faucet. Diba? In brushing your teeth, use cup or glass. Okay? Hindi isang balde. Kasi, kaunti lang yung ngipin natin. Tapos, pag missing in action pa yung iba, you still have to diba, use enough water. So the point here is don't waste water. Instead, you conserve water. So the oceans are important sinks for the carbon dioxide through direct exchange of the atmosphere and indirectly through the weathering of rocks. So we will see here again the interplay or the how hydrosphere is interconnected with atmosphere. And heat is absorbed and redistributed on the surface of the earth through ocean circulation. So the heat is distributed around the earth, okay, through ocean circulation. That's why we have areas that are, diba, medyo mainit, okay, especially in the tropical areas, and medyo malamig naman doon sa mga polar areas or polar regions. So temperate in between, okay, the temperate zone, okay, areas where US belongs. So in hydrosphere, we have the different processes, okay, that is, or here we have the water cycle. We have the different processes that are present here. Condensation, okay. So what is condensation? So from the word, diba, it condenses. So water condenses. And then after it condenses or forms into clouds, it becomes heavy. And then the next is precipitation. So precipitate, either it will be in the form of rain, snow, or kung gusto nyo ng hardcore, 'di ba, hail. O, 'di ba? O panago na kay bato na gid mga hagbong. So we have evaporation. Okay, again from water it will become from water if it will be transformed into from liquid to water vapor. And then we have transpiration. It's the evaporation of water in plants. Infiltration. So infiltrate. So meaning the water here will seep through the ground. So it will infiltrate the, 'di ba? Minsan doon siya mapupunta sa groundwater or this part here. Giging groundwater siya. And then we have the surface runoff. So especially areas that are denuded or deforestation is present, so there will be a surface runoff. So water will flow, okay, from that part going down. So that's surface runoff. So the question here now is, how is water cycle linked to the different subsystems? So how will you connect water cycle to the different subsystems? We mentioned about what are those four systems. So we have atmosphere, geosphere, and then we have the biosphere. So how are the four systems, subsystems interlinked or connected with each other.